What is up, people? We are about to go and embark on a bit of a project. I know what you're thinking too. You don't wear overalls, and you'd be right. I never wear overalls. I actually hate overalls, but there is a good reason for it. Now, some of you might remember that back in the winter, I was talking about some fencing we needed doing. So if you want to know why I've got overalls on today, it's because of them things. These are some Nordwood creosoted strainer posts. And as you can see, it's not even that warm today. I've got a TorraMór on and it's just seeping out of the things. As I said, I've got a TorraMór on. I would class myself today as being pleasant, and they're just dripping with creosote. These are some big strainers that we're putting in because we have got a big fencing job on. And then we've also got these are not Nordwood. These are something else. We couldn't get the Nordwood in this size. They were sold out. So these are something else with creosote on. And I mean, there's nowhere near as much creosote in them as what there is in them. So as I mentioned back when I was hedge cutting, we've got about 10 kilometers worth of fencing to actually put up on the farm. And we've budgeted to do a couple of kilometers this year. We might do more, but at the minute we've got 2K's worth bought and paid for. So we've got these big corner posts that we're going to go and put in today, and then we're going to do something very, very different with the rest of the fence, and we'll talk about that when we get around to it. But these big corner posts are going to go in now, and they're going to be our strainers for the electric fence. Also, can we just talk about how impressive it is that I am wearing overalls, because these are actually overalls that Finley wears, and Finley is a 14-year-old boy. That's a little win for me, I think. Dad's just got his measuring wheel out because we're going to put a central fence up this field, and then we're going to put a boundary fence from that corner around and all the way up to the top corner. So the idea is that we've got this 2 kilometers or 2.5 that we're going to do this year, but we're going to try and get some of the boundaries done. So some fields will be kind of half done. This is one of them. It's going to have a central fence put in, it's going to have a boundary fence put in, but then the rest of it will get done at a later date. Here? What, here? There we go. Oh no. Somewhere about here. We'll see how good Dad's driving is now. But no, forward a bit. Put it down. Forward a bit. So this is going to be where a bungee cord comes for the central fence. This is kind of going to be a gateway post. That'll do. I'm going to leave it at that because that's in a bit of a hole. So it might seem quite a short post, but we're only going to 90 centimeters high, and I'll explain in a bit why that is. Now we're getting the big guns out. So for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm going on about, well, this is a map that kind of shows where we're going. So that first post we put in was this one down here, and then we're going to have a fence that goes from that gateway there, and it'll go right round, which we're going to do at another point. But then we went and put this post in at the bottom of this long straight fence, and we've just gone and done the top corner one. And now Dad is currently wandering around with his metering wheel to get 131 meters so that we can get the top of the center fence. Now this is only a 20-acre field, but we're splitting it into two 10 acres. So we're gonna have an A block and a B block, mainly so that we can graze it a bit better, because it's quite a nice, chunky, squarish field, the problem with that is you end up with long, thin strips when we're grazing. We're going to try and get it more blocky by splitting it up the middle, and then we can manage it better as well. So we can mow one side and shut it up. We can essentially treat them as two different fields, even though it is just one field. And we're going to do this with all of our larger fields. So any field that's 20 acres or more is all going to have a fence down the middle. Dad's found his spot just there. He's got his Ranger Rick hat on, if you're wondering what's going on his head. So this one's another smaller post.
Well, the first bit of green edges, and then where the second bit of green edges.
Yeah, probably. You probably want a few around there because it's a lot of.
Just look at that first bit of green edge there for a start. We need one marking.
Well, see how far it is. Because you want to get. Yeah, because if it's get it to its right distance. Oh, that's soft. So the idea is we're going to put the big chunky posts, so these bad boys, in the corners. They're going to take all the strain and we'll tie off on those. These posts, this one's obviously at the end of the centre fence, so there will be a centre fence which runs down towards those 3 trees in the distance. That's where, about the middle tree is about where the middle fence will run. And then they're also going to be used on bends in the hedges. We're not going to use them on the straights. That's something a bit newfangled. I'll show you that in a minute. But on the bends and the curves, just to take a bit more strain, we're going to use those long, smaller creosoted posts. The idea is that we don't have to do much fencing for a long time because we have enough fencing to do, and it's just a job I can do without. To be honest, in the spring, I want to be able to turn cows out, and we're trying to make it as easy and as, what would the word be? Self-maintaining as possible. Yeah, self-maintaining. That's a new word. I've made that up. So we've got all the posts knocked in. But one thing we're going to do, and one of the reasons why we can do so much fencing at a time and afford to, is because back when we were in countryside stewardship, which was a chunk of time ago now, we put up no end of fencing on capital grants, and this is it. So it's like 4-strand electric fence, and we put up miles of it. So we've gone from here, it goes all the way down here, it goes all the way down to the gate, which is over there. And then we did all of the brook line as well, both sides with the riparian strip. And it was just, honestly, we got paid well to do it, and we put it up, and you had to put 4 strands of electric fence because it was just the same fence whether you got cows, sheep, whatever. You had 4 strands of electric fence, and this was the standard. It was to 1.2 meters high, and it had to be like 30 centimeters apart or whatever it was. But we no longer need to have that much fencing because we don't have sheep. We didn't have sheep at that point, but that's just what you had to do. And obviously cows, well, 1 strand will keep cows in, so we only need 1 strand. And the other issue is with this kind of fencing is you get bits of bush growth like this, and I can't get under it with a hedge cutter to tidy them up, so then they short out on the fence and they're an absolute nightmare. And this is really good quality wire. This is 2.5 mil high tensile wire, so it's good, strong, proper galvanized stuff. So to be honest, we might as well take it from here and use it somewhere where we want it. The plan is then we'll leave this fence, because it's a boundary fence with 2 strands of electric fence, and we'll nick 2 strands from here and all the other fences that we've got. And even that middle fence, to be fair, that's got 3 strands on it, and it only really needs 2, so we'll have one of those as well. And then in theory, we should have the vast majority of wire that we need to be able to do all the fencing we want to do already on the farm. So hopefully we won't have to buy any, and that'll mean that we can then spend that money on posts and doing the job properly so that we don't actually have to do it again for a very, very long time. Grass is just starting to pick up a little bit along here. You see there's a dark strip there. That's well, that's part of the reason why this field doesn't grow a huge amount of grass, because the neighbour's field, which is the other side of that hedge, they call it the paddy field. And anyone want to guess why? And the trouble with it is that's all drained to this ditch here, and to be honest, I want to go around there with a digger and maintain that ditch, because they don't, because it doesn't really bother them, I suppose, because it gets the water off their field. But then the pipe for that ditch that empties it goes under our field where that green strip is and goes across the brook line, which is down there. And that ditch is all bunged up, so it just floods, and then it floods our field, and then this field will sit incredibly wet all winter, which, to be honest, I think explains the sort of moss and that in the bottom. I think it's just getting a bit waterlogged. Oh, and Dad's been Thornton this morning. Look what he's found. It's an astronaut all the way from space. I think it's one of Elon Musk's men. This is either incredible genius or complete stupidity, and I'm yet to work out which one it is, but it's working so far, so I guess that's a good thing. The only thing that worries me is we tied a big draw pin for a tractor to the other end, so that it got some weight to keep it straight, because this high tensile stuff, if it gets like a little loop in it and you pull that loop tight, it'll just snap. I'm just worrying about how that's gonna get through all the hedges and gateways and round the mucky. It'll be what it'll be. Not a lot I can do now. We're into the next field, so far so good. Some chew on this beauty as well. We've got to do a fence from that corner up the side of the wood and along the top. That's another fence we've got to do. And we're now back where we started. There's the first post we knocked in. We are making tracks. Right, next. Still going. Over another. This is actually blowing my mind that it's working. Genuinely blowing my mind. I'd have put money on the fact that it was going to get caught in a hedge or just snagged on something and snapped, because that always seems to happen. But this is great. And there we go. Tied her off. Look at the creosote coming out the top of there. I can't believe it worked. Right, so we've now put the wire up. Someone's got out of bed and come and join us. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this wire, we're going to tie it off here, pull it tight to the other end. Where we've got a creosoted post, we're going to put an insulator in and hold it up, and then we'll use that as the line for the rest of the fence. Then we'll drive in the other post, which I've not told you about yet, but we'll get there in a minute. So we're going to tie this off this end, which we're going to do a little bit differently. I'll explain as we do it, and then we'll get pulling up. So first thing we're going to do, taking a bit of high tensile wire, we're going to run it through some of this, which is insul tube. A strip of that round, a bit like this. So probably going about this much insul tube. We're going to run that insul tube over the wire. You're getting this, Finley, you're learning this. Sort of. Right, and then that is now going to be our insulator on the end. So we want to get a staple, and we'll staple it in at about 90 centimeters. Okay, now we're going to bring that round, and what we're going to do, we're going to crimp that. Right, job done. Pull that round to the side, that will come out of the way. We come round with the wire back. This wire is like high tensile, so it's going to be hard to work with unless you get it warm, so you have to move pretty fast. So we're going to pull that around, and then we'll start and tie. So we're just going to spin, and the faster you move, the neater it'll be. 4 or 5 little turns, and then when you get to the end, you just twist it backwards and it'll snap. Now, this loop that goes around the post doesn't want to be too big, because if you have that too big, when you pull tension on here, it'll snap it. Now, these wooden posts, we're going to use these screw-in insulators. We've been using these for a few years, actually. They're bloody brilliant, way better than the nail-in ones. And you have to have this tool in your drill to put them in. Pull the wire, drop it in. Right, so now we've done that. This is what we're doing different. So normally we'd use wooden posts, but we've decided that although we like fencing, we don't like it that much, so we want to put a new fence up every 5 or 10 years. So we've gone to some Clipex posts. These have got a 30-year guarantee. So we'll drive them in, and then hopefully, I'm 33, so if things go right, this won't be my problem when it comes to redoing it. So we're going to drive them in. We use this pole thing. We can drive them in by hand. Now we can use the knocker to do this, but I've just tried it and it goes in so easy, it seems absolutely pointless. These are just the eco posts. So these are 2 notches. So if you look here, we've got one at the top, and then we've got one sort of a bit down. So if you want to put 2 strands of barbed wire or 2 strands of electric fence or whatever, you can use these. And then they do different ones for netting, so if you have more clips, but they're very similar price. These are slightly cheaper because there's a bit less to them, but it's nothing. And comparatively to wooden posts, they're actually pretty much the same price as wooden posts. They're actually cheaper than creosoted wooden posts, and they'll last a lot longer. Seems like a bit of a no-brainer. We're going to give it a go. We're going to fence all of the new fences with Clipex, and hopefully, as long as I don't hit them with a hedge cutter, it'll last forever. The other thing with these, we use these electric fence insulators. So how these work is they've got a little clip on the back, you see there. You'll put the wire in, twist them, and then you come along and you just push them into there, he says. There we go. And they just slot down, and that's secure. And it's this little latch holds it in, and when you want to come and get it out, you just push that latch back. And if you want to get it out or drop it down, you just go and drop it down to the next one. it's simple. I mean, it's so simple, it's ridiculous. So Dad's been busy with the marker and the metering wheel. We're gonna put these things at 15 meters apart because all we're really trying to do is hold this wire up. We don't really need it for any other reason. As long as it's up, these will be more than enough. Originally, we're gonna get the post knocker out for this job, but to be quite honest, I've had a little go and it's so easy. It seems pointless and a lot slower to use the post knocker. So we drop this on and just slide hammer it in. Simple. Got to put the wire into the insulator and then clip the insulator into the post. Not just the insulator into the post, because then you can't get the wire in afterwards. Finley's just, he's gone around. I said to clip the insulator in. I thought it was obvious you had to put the wire in, but my bad. But to be fair, simple. You'll just pull that clip, off he comes, clip it on, twist it, come along, push it back in. Job done. We got him now. I think he's sorted it. Taking him off and just clipping him back on. You can get like a petrol, I don't even know how it's a petrol hand post knocker for knocking them in. And I guess if you're a contractor and you're doing it all the time, you're just like, it make a lot of sense. But, and if you're doing netting, when you got your posts so close together, but we're at 15 meters. That wire is nice and tight. We've just got it tied off on the end with the monkey pullers, and we've not finished tying it yet, but we've just got it pulled up tight. So we've got a line, and that took us about 10 minutes, which honestly, my mind is just like, so we're at the other end. We've put the tube round. We've pulled it up with the monkey pullers to get some tension in, and now we just got to tie it off, same as the other side, to get it neat, and then we'll let the tension off. Just keeping it tight. Got one pull in there, we can let the tension off now. Now the other thing we're doing, it might look a bit odd, because we pulled that tension onto there, but we're going to pull the next run onto this side and pull it that way. So this will be pulled well out, and we won't have anything touching this post and shorting out. But then the electric current will come in, go through this and into there, and it'll won't need any linking wires. So there we go, just tied that one off. So that's on there ready, and when that's pulled tight from the other end, it'll square this up a little bit. But Finley's been digging. Look what he's found. Another one. Got myself a new idea. This is great. Because I got the marks out, Finley's going to just drop the post off as we drive to the bottom, then we'll pull it up.
Give it to me.
So now all we got left is this centre fence. So we've ran a big post from here and a big post up over the top of the brow of that bank. And then we've been and marked it all again. Dad's marked up. So we've got 20 posts to knock in over the top of the hill, but we're gonna do 2 strands of electric fence here. So one at the top and then one halfway down. So Dad's gonna have to go and nick a bit more electric fence, I think. When we've done that, we'll be done. This grass is growing like mad as well. Had a bit of turn for about a week ago and it's just kicking on. Look at that. Straight as a die. So that's all the posts done. All down the centre, all around the 2 sides. Just need to go and get an extra wire now. Clip that up, tie it off both ends, and jobs are good. And say I wore your overalls. I was impressed with myself. I want to do a who wore it better, me or Finley? Right, where's my wire? What happened to my wire? Here it is. As I said to you, when you're moving it, when it's high tensile and you wiggle it, it will get hot, and then when it gets hot it'll snap. But when it's cold it won't snap. If you just tried to snap that now, you won't do it.
Slowly, you won't do it.
But if I wind this and then just twist it back on itself,
Fast as you can.
it will just do it.
Like
Right, so you see it's getting hot. Now if I snap it, turn it back like that, it snaps. If that were cold, if I left that for 5 minutes and then said, do you turn it back and snap it, it wouldn't do it. It's much easier when it's not on the floor. So we've done this knot. I made a right mess of that first tie, but you go up and over, tie it, and it was, because it's on the floor, it wasn't so easy, but my mess. but that's secure because what happens is this knot gets tied off by that knot, so each one is pulling on the opposite one. Dad reckons he's going to do this on a drive-by without falling out the door. He's not thought about this. If you wreck your door, Mother's not going to be happy. I'm not sure this is going to be everything successful. But yeah, Finley was faster than this. What's going on? What are you doing? Finley would have been done by now. I reckon I ought to drive.
That way up, isn't it?
And there we go. Fence is up. Look at that. Bolt straight. I'm just gonna have to put a bungee from there to there. That's what we're gonna do. And we've left these gaps big enough. I think they're 10 meters, Dad measured. So we can get through here with the rake, because the rake is 7.2. So the rake will fit through there, mower will fit through there, everything will get through, and plenty of room to get a big mob of cows to sort of sweep round the corner as well. And here's how it's pulled up, look. So that's got all the tension on the wire. Just look how it pulls. It's not making much of a dent on there at all. So it's all tied nice and straight and solid. Right, that is it. Fence is done. I was going to put the drone up and show you all the fences from above and whatever else, but somehow I've managed to lose a propeller. So need to fix that. And I need to go and nurse my face because the creosote is making it burn, and I think it's red as hell. So whatever you get up to this weekend, have a good one, and I'll see you in a bit. Ta-da!